Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Thursday. Today is Thursday, May the 8th, 2025. Hopefully, everybody's having a good week. We're of course going to give people a chance to come in here. Then before we get started. Um, So if you haven't already, of course, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. You know? Anyways. Was watching, of course, cartoons earlier. Saw some interesting ones. Let's see now. Actually, something. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I should probably wait a moment here. Let me at least do one more thing here, something I didn't get a chance to do before the show. I think about it, and I just remembered. See if I can get some more people, interested parties, to venture over to. Oops. And they're all gone, anyways. All right. All right. So, anyways, let's see. um, I guess I'll go ahead and start a little early here. So tonight we're going to go over a couple articles, one from Bleeding Fool and the other from Me TV Tunes. The first one is we're going to talk about, of course, is about whether or not comics can be considered literature. Avi decided to do a little article on that. We'll go over that. Our old friend Avi Green, of course, and then we will head over to Me TV Tunes. They were doing a little profile piece on talking about the initial, I guess, bullfrog or horned frog, whatever that was the inspiration for Michigan J. Frog. Let's see. Then we'll, of course, have the wrestling wrap up. We'll look back to last night's AEW Dynamite, look ahead to tonight's Impact, TNA Impact. And of course, and talk also about anything, some of the latest updates from WWE. As well as finish things off with This Day in Each History. Well, anyways, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Let me pull up the article here. We're going to go over. Or the first of the two articles we're going to go over. And like I said, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. It'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get into this. Should comics be considered literature? The answer is relative. An article by Avi Green published today. A writer at the Daily Aztec argues that comics are literature, though where he drew his own encouragement from for taking up the medium as reading material is hardly the best. So now this is, I guess, from the Daily Aztec article here. The first comic book I read was a single issue of Iron Man, a billionaire tech head turned superhero. This comic tied in with the Marvel Cinematic Universe film Iron Man 2, and it was given to me and a handful of other guests at a family birthday party. As fate would have it, that wouldn't be my last comic book. I grew up watching Marvel and DC cartoons like quote, Batman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, and The Spectacular Spider-Man. These shows began my interest in the superhero world. All right, so let's see how Avi responds to that then. Stories coming from Marvel around 15 years ago were not worth the paper they were printed on. So I guess Avi, as noted, has probably not been a big fan of the material coming out of Marvel or DC over the last 15 years or so. Not even movie connections. It's decidedly a shame that anybody and everybody thinks the best gift you should give your children for reading is the very brand new items when there were Marvel Masterwork archives available back then, and today Marvel Epic collections make it even easier to obtain far better stories pre-2000. The same cannot now be said about DC Finest, a similar archiving project that began just a year or so ago that will hopefully be put to serious use more than previous archiving projects were. And of course, some of you who catch our Sunday shows know we've been also going back in time and looking at some probably some stuff from the golden age. Some of it good, some of it not so good, but I'm sure still better, and still many people would consider the stuff that we've been reading on Sunday nights, formerly Friday nights, to be better than the stuff coming out today. But anyways, back to the article he's referencing. Reading their best stories or the classics intrigued me. With stories like Spider-Man's, I learned that if Peter Parker, the character's alias, can manage his hero life and academic life, then I could take on any challenge that college presented me with. Let's see Avi Avi responds to that statement. What about leftism that's running the college system? Because there's some of that in this article too. Unsurprisingly, if partisan politics can't be challenged, nor some, nor some of the worst results of leftist indoctrination, then the writer hasn't learned much of anything from reading Spidey. Back to the article here. With every comic I read, I was introduced to the grand world of superheroes that captivated me, with each panel showcasing them in beautiful colors, portraying them with vivid art. It got me thinking all the way to coming up with the essential question: can comic books qualify as literature? Which again, and we've talked about this before. Um, the answer is relative. I've often referenced the TV movie A Town Torn Apart, starring Michael Tucker and Jill Eikenberry, about a principal and teacher about a principal who would come into a New England town to kind of help. Let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of help rebuild the school. The school system there there's a high school there that had come under fire, whatever. Scores, and they just and the teacher and trying to get the students to take more of an interest in classics. She realized that all they cared about was reading comic books, and he goes, well, why not let them read comics then? Hey, they are reading, aren't they? So literature is commonly defined as, quote, written works, especially those considered of superior or lasting artistic merit, books and writings published on a particular subject, unquote. Now, I like the first definition because it talks about how a written work leaves a lasting mark on the reader and the audience. Novels such as Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront, Animal Farm by George Orwell, and many more, and many, many more, these pieces of literature are frequently recognized for their timeless messages and use of language that captivates readers in every read through. So, and this is Avi's response to that. Yes, comics can count as literature in their own way, but like any other medium, they too can fall victim to political correctness and propaganda of the worst kinds, and have their best messages turned inside out. A similar point could be made as to how the artwork fell into mediocrity over the past decade in the mainstream, and no telling how easily it'll recover, if at all. What the past 2 decades have had to offer definitely isn't of lasting value, nor is it quote unquote superior. Certainly not if it happens to be something like quote superior Spider-Man unquote, which has just a tired excuse to depict Dr. Octopus switching brains with Spider-Man. The writer then cites 2 items, one with more positivity, oddly enough, but another that's lacking. And this is back to the article, of course. Let's see. Let's see. Less known, but just as valuable, are the retelling of classic fairy tales and fables by Bill Willingham, or Anne Frank's Diary, the graphic novel adaptation by R.E. Fullman. Quote, the graphic diary is a perfect solution for the next generation to reach the readers of the diary. You also have to find their language. More people will get to know the story, unquote. Fullman said as his reason for using the comic medium. So there's obvious response to that. While it's admittedly surprising to see the writer cite fables as a comic, making for valuable reading, given that Willingham is a right-winger, this is soured when the work of an actual leftist is put alongside one who exploited Anne Frank's history by writing up a crude, contrived rendition where homosexuality is shoehorned into the mess. Now, of course, if you guys remember, a few weeks back, we actually read an article where Avi kind of critiqued Ari Fullman's Anne Frank novel, and he was not too fond of what was done with it. So that's where some of the commentary here is based from. So I get the feeling the writer would never cite graphic novels like those written by Amon Shore as recommended reading, and if not, that's telling just how a narrow university paper's viewpoint can really be. And then here we're now getting back to the article that he's referencing. The Handmaid's Tale, a novel known for being set in the dystopian Republic of Gilead, a theocratic regime that has replaced the United States, was also adapted into a comic book by Renee Nolt. Quote, although the subject matter is bleak, I wanted the art itself to be beautiful and for each page to stand as its own work, unquote, Knoll said when commenting on her motivation. Here is Avi's response to that statement. If memory serves, Margaret Atwood's novel was written as a left-wing feminist story with conservative Christian-like figures as adversaries. So what makes this a great item for adaptation into comics? Margaret Atwood, okay. I can't say I'm surprised it would be adapted, though. But if The Handmaid's Tale were a critique of Islam, it would never be embraced by the leftist crowd. Anyway, this pretty much sums up what you can expect to come from a university rag. The only thing that's really accurate here is that yes, comics can be literature in their own way. But what predictably goes undisclosed is how comics can also be exploited as propaganda for bad politics. And while it is amazing the Daily Aztec would cite Fables as a comic of interest, they ruined everything with the tasteless leftist items that were also brought up. Well, I don't know about as much about that. I would say it's more the writer at least tried to present somewhat of a more balanced take than Avi maybe is seeing here. And he could have probably balanced it out even more by maybe referencing more quote unquote right wing comics, as it were. Maybe for the one right wing comic, and he had something like 5 or 6 left wing comics. Maybe if you had more like 3 right wing comics and 3 left wing comics, then that might have been a better take than this. Hey, Fish Ozo, thanks for dropping in. If you haven't already, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, now we're going to go on to the next article here that we're going to talk about, which is the next and last article we're going to basically talk about tonight, which is going to be we're going to go over to MeTV Tunes for this. A little profile piece. There were? Oh, actually, there's even another. Well, if I feel there's time, I might even add one more here. Let's see here. The left wing only hates Christianity because they are made at their. I think you mean mad at their conservative parents, not made. Even though they are also made by their conservative parents. If being that they are their offspring, I mean, you could say it that way, but I think what you meant to say there was they're mad at their conservative parents. Yeah. So, anyways, let's move on to the next article I was going to go over, and we might even be able to add one more because I just saw one pop up that also be a pretty interesting read. So let's see where we're at time-wise when we're done with this article coming up. So the real horned toad behind Michigan J Frog. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my horny toad. Article posted May 5th, 2025 by MeTV Tunes staff. So there you go. There's Michigan J Frog, basically the mascot for Warner Brothers. So, did you know that Michigan J Frog was inspired by a real frog? Actually, I don't think I did. But, it all began in 1897 when a 40-year-old boy, Will Wood, caught a Texas horned lizard in Eastland County, Texas. Horned lizards are often called horned toads or horny frogs. Yeah, I could just hear the jokes now. But they are lizards, not frogs or toads. Um, Wood's father decided to test the old Texan legend that horned toads could live for many years in hibernation and put the creature in a time capsule with other. Actually, I think I did hear about this once before. We maybe even read an article prior about this. Anyway, they buried the time capsule in the cornerstone of the Eastland courthouse. Yeah, I think I did actually hear about this and forgot about it for 30 years. In 1928, the courthouse was being torn down, and construction workers found the time capsule. Suddenly, everyone remembered that a lizard had been buried alive in there. Who? A crowd of 1,500 people gathered to see if the horned lizard survived 31 years of hibernation in the time capsule. Boyce House, a newspaper reporter at the event, wrote that, quote, in small quote, Eugene Day thrust his hand into the cavity and lifted a flat, dust-covered toad. The pastor handed the creature to Judge Pritchard, who dangled it with a hind leg that all might see. Suddenly, the other hind leg twitched. The frog was still alive. Within a few minutes, the toad began to blink, breathe, and fully come back to life. Which probably also inspired a lot of cryogenic dreams, as it were. Cryogenic theories. While scientists and zoologists debated if a horned lizard could survive that long, the media frenzy had already begun. The town named the lizard Old Rip after Rip Van Winkle, the fictional character who fell asleep for 20 years. And before scientists could analyze him, Old Rip was already off on tour. Oh boy. Yeah, it would have been nice for the scientists to have a chance to actually study the frog, right? To see just how exactly he was able to pull that off. Anyways, Old Rip went to Dallas, St. Louis, New York City, and even Washington, D.C., where he got to meet President Calvin Coolidge. He was a star, but then he died about 6 months later of pneumonia, and he was preserved as a museum exhibit in the new Eastland Courthouse, the very spot where he had once been buried alive. Old Rip's troubles did not end with his passage into the spirit realm, because his body was stolen and held for ransom twice. Oh boy. Between the two thefts, Old Rip hind leg fell off. Oh boy. After the second theft, the body was returned with all 4 feet um, leading locals and fans to believe that the recovered specimen was a fake. Yeah, well, when you're just displaying a corpse, it's likely that stuff's gonna fall off, and if they're dead, they're not gonna obviously be able to regenerate. Whether old Rip resides in the Eastland courthouse or is still in a thief's possession, his story reached the ears of Looney Tunes writer Michael Maltese, who was inspired to write One Froggy Evening. The cartoon features a construction worker at a demolition site finding a time capsule from 1892 with a live Michigan J frog inside. Michigan sang his way through Looney Tunes cartoons, eventually became the mascot for the WB channel. Though through Michigan, the story of Old Rip still lives on. Watch Bugs Bunny and Friends on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 5 a.m. Pacific, and 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Oh, wait, 6 a.m. Pacific, rather, sorry. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, and Sundays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. So let me see now. So let's see, where are we at on time here? Yeah, I think we can get in one more article before moving on to the wrestling wrap up, I believe. Thinking that it will probably be just as short here. This article just popped up as I came back to the site here. Chase songs and music behind Scooby Doo. Scooby Dooby Doo. Check out these tunes. Article published May the 8th, which is today. Oh, yeah, that's right. May 5th would have been, on Monday, I believe. Yeah. By MeTV Tunes staff. So there's Shaggy and Scooby right there, of course, who are voiced by the late, great Casey Kasem and Don Messick. Have you ever watched Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And thought, dang, these songs are catchy. Season 1, the chase scenes featured instrumental music composed by Ted Nichols. But Season 2 had all these groovy pop and rock songs. Yeah, kind of with the feel of the era too. The kind of the pop rock scene of the late 60s, early 70s there. Hanna-Barbera enjoyed creating music with La Productions for Josie and the Pussycats, so they decided to team up with them to write music for Scooby-Doo. La Productions tasked producer Danny Jansen and singer Austin Roberts to create songs for the chase scenes. The songs don't really sound like they're part of a spooky chase, but rather like the upbeat rock music of the Laurel Canyon era. You can imagine that these are songs that the cool teens in Mystery Inc. would play in the Mystery Machine as they're driving away from werewolves and vampires. Music created by Jansen and Roberts sounds like it would be played on a radio for 70s teens alongside the Beach Boys and the Mamas and the Papas. Let's take a look at all the groovy tunes in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Recipe for My Love was the first one they decided to feature here. Scooby saves Shaggy from the ghost of Mr. Hyde. who has trapped Shaggy and tried to turn him into a frog. The song, Recipe for My Love, plays as Scooby wheels Shaggy to safety. Oh, you see Shaggy on the gurney there, tied to the gurney. um, in addition to writing songs for Scooby-Doo, songwriter Danny Jansen also wrote the theme song for the Partridge Family and songs for Josie and the Pussycats. Come on, get happy. Pretty Mary Sunlight, it's alright with me. Pretty Mary Sunlight, come on, dance with me. So, Pretty Mary Sunlight, a wax phantom chases Scooby and Shaggy in quote unquote Don't Fool with the Phantom. This song was re-recorded by Jerry Reed in the new Scooby-Doo movie. Jerry Reed was, I guess, from what I remember, was a country singer back in the 70s there, and was featured on Scooby-Doo. Tell me, tell me. Third song to feature here. Tell me, tell me. In Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Werewolf, Shaggy and Scooby run away from a werewolf to the tune of Tell Me, Tell Me. Susan Stewart, the song's co-writer, was also a voice actor and played Helga in the episode Nowhere to Hide. 7 days a week. 7 days a week. 7 days a week contains the lyrics, got me going round in circles, which is exactly what Scooby and Shaggy do as they run away from a caveman who Mystery Inc. accidentally helped unfreeze in Scooby's night with the frozen fright. 7 days a week. Daydreaming. Fun fact. This song sounds like a woman sings it, but it's still Scooby-Doo singer Austin Roberts. He had three octave range. He had a 3-octave range, and was able to sing women's parts in cartoons, including this song in Jeepers, It's the Creeper. I can make you happy. Hey, Rick. Thanks for popping in. You can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, unlike the other chase songs, I Can Make You Happy is a car chase song as Fred drives the mystery machine away from the scare pair in Mystery Mask Mix-Up. The song was also re-recorded later on by Davy Jones for the new Scooby-Doo movies. Davy Jones of the Monkees fame. Love the World. Number 7 here. This song plays while Shaggy, Scooby, and Velma run away from the Headless Spectre in Haunted House Hang-Up. The song was later recycled to a more fitting ABC Saturday Superstar movie, Tabitha and Adam and the Clown Family, an animated movie where characters from the Bewitched series perform a musical act to save the local circus. And of course, the theme song, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. The Scooby-Doo theme song was recorded for season 1 by Larry Marks and then re-recorded by Austin Roberts Roberts often visited children's hospitals with Scooby dolls, would perform the theme song for the kids there. Wow, that was pretty cool. So there we go with that. Of course, and this time they didn't. Of course, you can catch Scooby Doo weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific. Saturday mornings at 7. Mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 a.m. Pacific, and then also, of course, the Scooby Sunday specials on Sunday afternoons at noon Eastern. Let's see. I believe. I'm sorry. I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central, noon Pacific. So that's all we got for the articles for you guys tonight. So those are some pretty fun articles to go over, I'd say. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap up? We're gonna go talk about what happened on, of course, last night. And last night's Dynamite, as of course they continue to go towards they continue to go towards the the Double or Nothing pay-per-view on the 25th. Sorry about that. I don't know why. My brain was freezing there for a moment. Anyways, the night opened up with an eliminator 4-way match for the women's world title, which if any of the winners had gotten the win, would have earned a shot at Toni Storm's AEW women's world title. Toni Storm essentially eliminated them from contention for the immediate future. She won over Anna Jay, Penelope Ford, and Thunder Rosa. In a match for the Ring of Honor World Television title, Nick Wayne had retained the title over the debuting Rhino, as Rhino made his AEW debut, falling to the Ring of Honor World Television in a 6-man tag match. Ricochet and the Young Bucks. Matthew Nicholas Jackson defeated team of Mike Bailey, Mark Briscoe, and Swerve Strickland. Kazuchika Okada fended off the challenge of Kevin Knight in a AEW contender Continental title eliminator match. And then Samoa Joe defeated Claudio Castagnoli. And from what I saw from some clips I'd seen, apparently Joe did to Claudio what Claudio had done to Hook and Shibata, in basically slamming him basically chest and stomach first on the legs of an exposed chair. In other words, turning the chair, unfolding the chair out, putting it upside down, and then landing him like stomach and abdomen first on the legs. So, kind of taking him out of action for a while there. Anyways, that's all we got on the AEW side of it. So now to look ahead to tonight's Impact, on tonight's Impact for TNA. The Great Hands of Jason Hotch and John Schuyler, with Tasha Steelz in their corner, will be taking on the Aztec Warriors of Laredo and Octagon Jr. Rosemary takes on Lei Ying Ling in a one-on-one match. Mustafa Ali with Order 4 in his corner of the Great Hands and Tasha Steelz will be taking on Trey Miguel. Victoria Crawford is set to make her TNA debut against a mystery opponent. in a dog collar match for the TNA International title, Steve Macklin takes on the Northern Armory's Eric Young. So that's all that we got for you on the wrestling wrap up. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to this day in niche history. 2002, 2000, 1975, and 1965. All right. All right. So with today being Thursday, May the 8th, 2025, let's take a look back at this day in niche history. So, first off, going back 60 years ago today, on this date 60 years ago, back in 1965, here, Tatsunoko Productions Space Ace premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 1965. It premiered on Fuji TV. Space Ace is the story of an alien young boy named Space Ace, or Ace for short, given to homesick stargazing with the faces of his loved ones ghosted across the heavens. His tool of preference is the galaxy ring. So anyways, it ran for 1 year, of course, on Japanese television. So on this date, 60 years ago today, Tatsunoko Productions Space Ace premiered on this date back in and bye Joseph. Back on this date back in 1965. Now moving ahead to 1975, 50 years ago today, on this date 50 years ago today. On this date 50 years ago today, American animator Abe Levito passed away at the age of 52 on this date back in 1975. He was known for his work with Warner Brothers, UPA, and MGM Animation Arts. He's best known for his work under Chuck Jones direction, particularly Chuck Jones's works in the 60s for MGM. So Abe Levito was an animator with Chuck Jones for a lot of the 1960s, particularly the mid to late 60s Tom and Jerry cartoons. So on this date 50 years ago today, Abe Levito passed away at the age of 52. Now moving ahead to the year 2000. On this date in the year 2000, 25 years ago today. This date 25 years ago today. I believe this was let's see. I believe this was the Go Home Nitro before Slamboree, I believe. Either that or actually no, it actually was the night after Slamboree. I'm sorry. WCW held its Monday Nitro event from the TWA Dome in St. Louis, Missouri. The main event saw Jeff Jarrett retain the WCW World Heavyweight title over Sting. In a 4-on-2 handicap match, went to a no contest in which Billy Kidman, Mike Awesome, and Conan and Rey Mysterio of the Filthy Animals took on Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. In a tag team 4-way elimination match, Chronic of Brian Adams and Brian Clark outlasted Harlem Heat of Big T, who was known as Ahmed Johnson in WWE, and Stevie Ray. The Harris brothers, Big Ron and Heavy D, and the Mamalukes of Big Vito and Johnny the Bull. In a stretcher match, Mike Awesome defeated Diamond Dallas Page, and the night opened up with Terry Funk retaining the hardcore title in a 2-on-1 handicap match over Norman Smiley and Ralphus. So that happened in the year 2000. Then moving ahead to the year 2002. In the year 2002 here. On this date in the year 2002. The 90th issue of Azrael, Agent of the Bat, went on sale from DC on this date back in the year 2002. The title of the story was Denial, written by Dennis O'Neil. Sergio Canello did the penciling. James Dean Boscoe did the inking. Jack Morelli did the lettering. And then coloring was done by Rob Rijo and Alex Brayart. So back in 2002, 23 years ago today, the 90th issue of Azrael, Agent of the Bat, went on sale on this date back in 2002. So with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I thank everybody for being here tonight. We'll be back here with more Needs News tomorrow. And of course, Rick Piper, who I believe is still in the chat here, from Cross Comics, will be joining me on Sunday, as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in May of 1940 from Fox Feature Syndicate. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday or on tomorrow. Bye.